We are back with a Fox News alert. President Trump arriving in Singapore just moments ago ahead of his historic summit with Kim Jong Un.
The North Korean dictator arrived overnight after his longest trip overseas and was greeted by Singapore's foreign affairs minister.
But what do we really know about the dictator, and what is President Trump up against? Here with insight, policy analyst for the Heritage Foundation's Asian Studies Center, Riley Walters. Good morning, Riley. Who is Kim Jong Un?
Well, Kim Jong Un is the third Kim of the Kim regime. Replacing his father in 2011, Kim Jong Un has shown to be a pretty brutal dictator of sorts. He recently, just within the past couple of years, assassinated his brother, and he's known to remove high-level officials in a very non-subtle way in order to sort of establish his power, as you could say, in North Korea. He's continued to take North Korea down a path of belligerent goals of developing nuclear capabilities, and you know, it's interesting to see now how things are developing, though.
Riley, I'm going to attempt to ask a nuanced question here. I don't know if it'll work or not. But is this a guy who relishes the ruthlessness, who wants to lock people up and kill them? Or is this a guy who inherited the throne, effectively, and has done what is necessary to keep his power, but is looking for an off-ramp?
It is very possible that he himself might not be as ruthless as we think. It is a nuanced question, so it takes a nuanced answer. He does continue to have prison camps that, you know, they potentially test chemical and biological warfare weapons on, but at the same time, he might also be showing brutal punishment of high-level officials in order to maintain his power, which, in a sense, if he can assert that he has control, he might be less ruthless in the end.
Why do you think he's willing to come to the negotiating table now? If things gotten so bad for North Korea that he's feeling like at this point he just doesn't have a choice, they can't go on anymore?
Well, that's thanks to our maximum pressure, I think, certainly. You know, the North Korean economy it's hurting right now. Kim Jong Un himself, I think, realizes this, and I think he thinks it is potential that you know, he can make a deal with the Americans. He has the nukes, so he has the leverage to make a deal. He might be willing to give those up. But of course, we should continue to apply this maximum pressure until we can actually verify that he is willing to commit this time.
Riley, we just had Anthony Scaramucci on that said that really, you know, Kim Jong Un may be a much more rational person than people give credit. What do you think President Trump will see in these first moments when he meets Kim Jong Un?
Well, I think he'll see a dictator who has, you know, is often revered as a god within his own country, and a man who often people say no one actually ever says no to. So, you know, he's going to be coming against someone who, in himself, is very, in his mind, elevated. And so, at first, it could be very. They could get together, you know, if Dennis Rodman is right and that, you know, Kim himself is a, you know, fairly nice guy, then they could get along. I think whether they get along or not really actually depends on Donald Trump on this. And President Trump, if he likes him, it'll be good. If he doesn't, he'll walk away.
Riley Walters of the Heritage Foundation, thank you for your expertise this morning. We appreciate it.